Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another exciting edition of Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Byride Auto. Ryan Higginbotham, Jason Simpson, and Josh Lee joining us live in studio. Welcome back to the friendly confines, my friend.
Thanks, man. I wish we would get it was warmer yesterday in central Wisconsin than it was here. So I don't know if I'm bringing the bad weather down or what's going on, but happy to be back for sure.
I'm convinced that Mother Nature has her months flipped because April this year so far in Indiana has been what May normally is, and May has been what April normally is. We're getting all of our April showers in May, and we've had a few days that it got up into the mid-80s already, but we've had more days like this that are low to mid-60s and just that, not torrential downpour, but just that gross kind of misting rain that you can't do anything with. So I don't know what the heck's going on. And then, as we've been teasing everybody out there in Beyond the Game land, he makes his yearly appearance, one of Greensburg's finest, and our resident Indianapolis 500 expert we have with us today. Old Foz, Derek Fosnot joins us. Foz, thanks for coming in.
Oh, good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it is the month of May. It is Memorial Day weekend. That means the greatest spectacle in racing. And it's obviously going to depend who you talk to and things. But, the 500 has to be one of the top 2 to 3 sporting events in the world, is it not?
Yeah, you talk about a single-day sporting event. I saw this number, and there's 350,000 seats or people that they are expecting to be in attendance, and I think that may just be seats because they were predicting another 80,000 when it comes to the pit and general admission and things like that, which that number alone is larger than cities like Columbus, Ohio, Louisville, Kentucky. It's just Pittsburgh is another one that it's larger than. So I'm trying to think of another sporting event, a single-day sporting event that can outshine Indy. And obviously, we all grew up in Indiana, so it all carries a special place in our heart. But if there isn't, or if there is another event that's bigger than the Indy 500, I'd like to know.
Is this 110th? Is that where we're at?
Yep, 110th.
So, Foz, maybe you'll be able to answer this. I'm really curious about this because for a lot of years, you had your post like Al Unser Jr., Rick Mears, all those guys who were incredibly popular drivers. You had this little lull where the 500 wasn't selling out. Like the popularity kind of dipped. And then, of course, it peaked with the 100th. Everybody wanted to be there. And I always get a kick out of that because I fall victim to it, too. Like, why is the 100th any different than the 99th or the 101st? We tend to assign a special category for a certain round number. It's always fascinated me. But anyway, why do you think it is the last couple of years, post 100th, the 500 is sold out, blackout's been lifted, we've been able to watch it here locally if we don't go to the race? Because it's not like IndyCar does a great job really marketing any individual drivers or anything, so you don't have the big names out there that somebody's watching. But what do you attribute that to, that now the 500 has kind of gotten back to, not that it was ever lacking attendance, but like we're saying, it's solidly sold out, and it just seems like there's more of a buzz around it the last few years.
Well, you're 100% right. It did kind of go through a lull there where it just kind of, it was, everybody knew when it was and paid attention to it the day of, but now it does seem like it's a little more celebrated even throughout the year, and I think that's honestly because of, I think it's attributed to the work that Doug Bowles and that marketing team at IMS, because if you look at social media and all those things, how many times next month are you going to see "Is it May yet?" all over the place. So, and I don't recall. And Josh, you've gone with me for 20 years. We talked about this last year when it went from NBC to Fox, the IndyCar series did, and I honestly don't think, outside of probably the last 4 or 5 years, that Indy just did a very good job of marketing the race, other than just, as of May 1st. I really don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't know. I think to Derek's point, when Doug Boles took over and Roger Penske bought not only the IndyCar series but the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and Doug Boles became the president, I think they did a lot of stuff for the fan experience that maybe you wouldn't be able to see on TV, but restrooms got better. In and out traffic flow got better, and that's hard to do with 350,000 people or more there.
Speedway's not exactly a big city.
No. I mean,
Speedway's like 6.5 square miles.
Yeah.
It's not big.
But so I think what they've done with the fan experience has gotten better. One thing that, nobody really talks about or thinks about is, I've gone, this will be my 21st year, and I don't think one time have I bought a beer or a water or a hamburger or anything inside. So for them, especially in this day and age in 2026, that they still allow you to bring in coolers, with security measures and things like that inevitably pop up with 350,000 people. The fact that they still let you pack coolers and bring that in, so they make it affordable, to go. You just have to get there. I mean, parking is still $20. We paid $20 forever for parking. Now we park a mile and a half away from where we sit, at least. But
so you walk to the track and stumble back to your car.
Yeah, pretty much. And some of the times it's not even from having too many adult beverages. It's just a long freaking day and a lot of walking. I mean,
especially those days where it's perfectly blue sky and about 89 degrees, and you're sitting in the baking sun.
It's kind of funny because as I've gotten older, and I'm 38, my skin has gotten even more sensitive. I was telling these guys, and we'll get back to the race, but I was telling these guys we have a hot tub at our house. So for about 3 weeks, I've been trying to get like the perfect chemistry down, right? We have these test strips. I'm dumping stuff in, boom, boom, boom. So the other night, I did all the yard work, got everything. It was a perfect night, no wind. It was like 55 degrees. I'm like, all right. So I put some chemicals in, put the test strip in. Everything was perfect. The numbers were exactly perfect. So 30 minutes later, I get in. I'm sitting there for 15 minutes. Carrie gets in. She's like, man, it's smelling like a lot of chlorine. I'm like, no, it's fine. I sit there for another 5 minutes. My skin starts to burn. I'm like, oh, it's just getting hot in here. We should probably get out, because I didn't want to admit a mistake, right?
You get out with chemical burn.
Oh,
it's a rash, I swear.
My skin for 2 days was red and hurt. So even today, when it's overcast, I'm still throwing on sunscreen. I'm looking at UV index when I'm going. So tomorrow, with a chance of rain and overcast skies, that's perfect for me. I don't want 85 and sunny. That's
You're going to be
brutal.
the guy, though, even though it is overcast, you'll walk in with this paste of white over you. Not your pasty white skin, but you will still have to lather on the sunscreen, because even though you can't see the sun's rays, they are there.
I wear SPF wool sweater when I go to the Indy 500. So
SPF wool sweater.
It's
literally been the joke for 20
years. It's pretty rough. I'm about ready to turn into that guy that wears the long sleeve SPF 50 shirt.
And you're going to have the zinc oxide that the lifeguards used to wear on their
noses. Man, it's rough, but I just think they've made the fan experience so good that even if the marketing isn't I haven't seen any commercials for the Indy 500 up in Wisconsin, but I think that they've done such a good job of keeping it what it's always been. And I think they're starting to create new fans, younger fans. And I'm not saying 8, 9, 10-year-olds, because even though we'll see those kids there, not a ton, but they've captured our generation. And whether that's with the snake pit or the infield or what, they've just done a really good job of that over the last 10 years, I would say.
And Foz, you kind of mentioned his name, and yeah, there's a new president and all these things, but how much of it do you attribute to the fact that, love him or hate him, because he's an incredibly polarizing guy, but the fact that Penske now owns the Motor Speed, not only the series, but he owns, the crown jewel of maybe all sporting venues. How much of it do you attribute the new popularity? Easy for me to say, new popularity. Do you attribute to Roger Penske?
I think he's been. I think just the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, from the time that he bought it. I mean, that guy could. To sit here and say that he could care less if he ever won another championship if he just traded them all for Indy 500 wins. Can I say that? No, but that's all. I mean, this one day, this 1 month is literally what that guy bought the Speedway for. And he has opened the doors. I think so. I was just looking it up. We all know who Doug Bowles is, right? He's out there. He's very, we see him a bunch. Do you know who Jeff Beleskis is?
No idea.
Heard of him.
Because that's who was the president in 2013 when Doug Bowles took over. So I think when Penske takes over, he gets, Doug Bowles, and, they start all these things, and now there's ARCA is there. Obviously, NASCAR is still there. It's not just NASCAR and IndyCar, but they have, sport car championships there. I think they're going to try to bring back MotoGP. They would like to bring back the F1 race. I think he's opening the Speedway back up for more exposure to motorsports other than just the two major events that are on TV every weekend.
You just mentioned F1. This has been back right after I graduated from college, so it was early 2000s when they were still having that up there. And unbeknownst to me, because I'm not a motorsports fan per se, I'll keep tabs on who won an IndyCar race or who won the NASCAR race just to find out who it was. I couldn't tell you anything. Lewis Hamilton and who else drive F1, and I know it's hugely popular across the pond. Outside of soccer, it might be the most popular sport in other parts of the world. But you want to talk about a different crowd that shows up.
Yeah, those are
like we're talking, and I still remember this again about the same time frame. The very first time I ever went to Vegas, we left the night before a Tyson fight. And you want to talk about a different crowd that rolled into Vegas as it got closer and closer. Whoa, baby.
Yeah.
Let's just say you weren't exactly feeling safe. We'll just say that. Whereas with this F1 crowd, it was like each person trying to outdo the next with how much money they had. This was money on money on money. So very, very fancy type crowd. But what was really cool about it was you could tell that these were incredibly wealthy people, but they weren't uptight, snobby, let me show you how much money I have. So just that, and then like you guys, and like I was telling you before the show, we've been regulars at Carb Day. Still don't go to the race, but the clientele that goes to the 500 in comparison, you would just call the 500 crowd. It's just the good old boys. It's just good wholesome Indiana people, and I know there's people from everywhere else, but it's just the good old boys. And then you have those F1 fans who we're talking the elite of the elite.
Yeah, it's kind of funny you bring that up because we talk about like the street track races or the road courses that are in the streets. I mean, IndyCar's got them in Nashville and Detroit. Round 3 for F1 is in the streets of Dubai at night.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely a different crowd. But it is fascinating to see that some of those F1 guys, this event, the Indianapolis 500, is so big that world champions in the F1 world, want to be a part of that. You look at Alonso. Max Verstappen is talking about it. Mike Schumacher, was one that talked about it in the early 2000s. Unfortunately, a deal that just never came to fruition. But they're not beating down the doors to leave F1 to go race in Nashville.
No.
But they are having those conversations with different teams about about running the oval race, which is, to me, I think, carries its weight in gold. That not only does NASCAR have guys that want to come over and do the double, but they've also, and girls, shout out Catherine Legg, that want to do the double and want to be a part of that. But also you have F1 drivers that want to give up arguably one of the bigger events on their schedule, being Monaco this weekend. So it carries its weight in gold of what this event does mean to the motorsports industry.
So I looked up, and you talked about different crowd going there. In 2024, F1 to Las Vegas brought in $934 million in revenue. Which is about 5 times higher than the Indy 500 brings in. And we're talking 450,000 people going to the Indy 500, right?
Yeah.
5 times higher, $934 million in revenue. So it's the money is certainly different in the clientele that goes to F1
But I think
and
that
IndyCar.
also lends itself back to what you were talking about. Like at the 500, it's going to be like any place else. Concessions are going to be outrageously expensive in comparison to what they actually cost. But the fact that you can bring in water, beer, pop, you can bring in sandwiches, like I'm not going to say half, but I bet 20 to 25% outside of their ticket, 20 to 25% of the crowd doesn't spend a dime at the Motor Speedway.
Yeah, like I said, 21 years, and I've never bought anything there, ever. And, the fact that, tickets have stayed pretty similar in price. I mean, they're, $125 for where we sit, but that's your cost. $125 is your cost, and you don't have to buy stuff there. You don't have to spend the extra money. So when you have a spectacle as large as the Indy 500 and an event as large as the Indy 500, you look at other sporting events that carry that sort of weight, the Super Bowl, the Final Four, things like that. It's not affordable. Like, we went to Atlanta for the semifinals, and tickets were $300, but the plane, we had to get. I'm taking out the travel to get there. We were incredibly excited when chicken fingers and fries were $10.
Yeah.
And so that's the fact that they let you do that and bring that in, and they've kept it affordable outside of the ticket price.
How much is a ticket nowadays?
So what we pay, when we're in the middle of turn 3, we pay $125 per ticket, and it really hasn't gone up.
It probably goes up $5 a year, or something, $10 a year.
It's that death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's only $5, and then you look back 20 years later, and you're $50. You're like, what happened?
I don't know if there was a mistake or they made some adjustments. I think I got the paper for next year, and they're going to go up a little bit. We'll discuss that with the boys on Monday, not today. So
So let me ask you this: I don't know how familiar you are with F1. They always talk about the technology. It's not like an Indy car, you're driving a tin can in comparison to a Ferrari, but there's obviously a bigger technological jump between an Indy car and an F1 car, I'm assuming.
Quite a bit.
Is it simply because of where they race? And I mean the countries and different places that they race, that every single F1 race is on some sort of street course? And do you know what kind of performance an F1 car would get if they got on a 2.5-mile oval?
I really don't. I know that those are, it's all, I don't really, to be honest, I don't, because I don't know the nomenclature and how what advancements and what all they have within within F1. The engines are definitely bigger. I think they run like a more of a V8, V10, V12, and it's a hybrid 6-cylinder and Indy car. Indy cars, I think I did see like a study that Indy cars are, when it comes to raw horsepower, they are more powerful than F1 cars, but the gearing ratios and things like that are just so different, because like an Indy car has 6 gears where an F1 car may have 7. The F1 car is probably a full foot longer than an Indy car is. So they are substantially bigger in size, but they're also they're also some of those that those guys could probably tool around the IMS with one hand on the wheel, as opposed to no power steering, and those guys trying to fight it around four corners.
I saw Kyle Busch and real quick, Kurt Busch passing away at 41 years old, who just raced last week, is kind of a shock to the racing world. And not really any details have come out about what happened, but he essentially goes into the hospital and 6 hours later passes away. So
well, actually, I saw something yesterday. Wednesday, he was in a racing simulator.
He was testing, yeah.
Got out and collapsed to the ground. The 911 had to be called, and I think it was from then on. It's not like he woke up, got better. I think like that was it right then, and then ended up passing away.
And
it's more that's come out.
Super polarizing. You either loved him or you hated him. He was a guy that I won't say transcended the sport, because he didn't do that, but he was so polarizing because of the fire and the passion and the arguments and the things that he got into with racers. So the racing world lost a really good one in Kurt Busch. But Kyle Busch was talking about the difference between
Kyle passed. Kurt's still with.
Okay. So Kurt Busch was talking about no. Who raced in the 500 last year? Kyle Busch.
Kurt Busch raced in the 500 in 2012.
Oh, I'm thinking of Kyle Larson. I'm sorry. So Kyle Larson.
Yes.
Sorry, Kyle Larson was talking about the difference between NASCAR and IndyCar, and they asked what's harder to drive, and he said, from a car perspective, a NASCAR is harder to drive just because of the way that the car moves, but learning all the technology in an IndyCar with all the buttons and everything that you have at your disposal on that steering wheel, the learning curve to race an Indy car is tougher from that perspective. He said you feel like you have more control of the car in an Indy car, but what you have to learn is a lot tougher. So they have the hybrid button, and Foz, you can get into what that actually does and things like that. But he just talked about and I think there's probably a step up in technology into the F1 cars from an Indy car. So. Foz, if you watched any qualifying or you watch practice or things like that, they on the screen when they're talking about times, they have the hybrid, and they used to have, and maybe they still do, like a push to pass, and it's kind of an extra boost. Is that kind of the same thing, or how does that work?
Essentially, hybrid is like it's like the oval push to pass. So they do still have push to pass on road courses and.
So it's not like the junk technology that's in new cars that we can buy that turn your engine off when you stop. Like it's not like that.
I don't think it's. No, I really don't think so.
Because I love that technology.
No,
worst
the
thing ever invented.
Yeah.
So dumb. Anyway, sorry.
No, essentially, like the hybrid is, so it's chargeable or it's rechargeable, and then, and they can all do it from the steering wheel. And when they do deploy the hybrid, it gives them about an extra 60 horsepower, that dumps into the engine, but once it's gone until you have to physically recharge it from a paddle on the steering wheel.
So let me ask you this, and because you say recharge it, and there's two different ways I think about that. Is that like it literally has to regain energy, or is it like, because this is where my brain goes at all the video games that I play, is it basically technologically built in that it's timed that if you press it once, it's not going to let you use it again for X number of seconds, just so you're not like spamming it around the track or something.
No, it's a so it depletes very quickly, but it is an electric source. So when they go to recharge it, they have to stay on the paddle. If they let off the paddle and it gets, so if they charge it to 46% and they let off the paddle, it stays at 46%. And then they just have to keep going until it gets back up to 100. And once they have to hold the paddle or press the button or whatever it is, until it depletes. I think there was, what'd they say? I think there was 10 different hybrid deploy strategies in qualifying last week with the wind and all the different stuff. Guys were deploying it in corners. Guys were deploying it on straightaways, into the wind, downwind. In the short shoots, just trying to make up time anywhere. And it was, I think it was Renus VK. He would deploy it into the wind on the front stretch, and then recharge it on the back stretch, and he did it for all 4 laps. So he recharged it and used it for literally all 4 laps, and they're using the fast jacker button, which is a button that transfers weight from one side of the car to the other. I'm sorry, that's weight jacker, and then fast jacker kind of makes the car sit a little bit. Kind of makes presses a button and then the suspension sits. So, and then there's roll bars, and they go in and they turn the roll bar to try to stiffen up the front end, and all those things. I mean, that essentially that makes a very, very 10 mile or very, very busy 10 miles while you're trying to keep your foot completely on the floor at 235 miles an hour, which better them than me, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to ask, and you just kind of said it there. People love to kind of add a little flair and spice to it, but is there a lot of truth to the statement that in green flag racing at Indy, they don't let up from the accelerator? Any change in speed is going to be made by maybe shifting gears and things like that. Is it pedal to the metal the whole way?
It kind of depends. If you're in traffic, then no, you're getting out of it because of the draft, because they have what's called the tow, which is one car kind of tows the other car around.
And the one in front is eating through fuel a lot faster, right?
And that one's probably just depending on what the downforce levels are of the cars and what the track temperatures are and what the ambient temperature is. All that stuff kind of plays into a factor, but they're not holding it wide open in a race trim type level, because it'll just eat tires and eat gas. I mean, because these guys are trying to make, Josh and I argue this literally for the last 20 years. I say they pit on lap 35, and he says they pit on lap 37, and we argue about the 2 laps and who's going to win the race because they pit on 33 and 36. So
you watch them in qualifying, and you see them get up to speeds on the backstretch, really going into turn 3 at 241 to, I think maybe a guy or two hit 242.
I thought this year, because of the tailwind going down the backstretch, wasn't there a dude that hit 244?
And it could have. I didn't sit there and watch every single car. But that's, you don't see that. You don't see that with during the race. Those speeds don't happen. And they were, if you watched it, they had on their graphics, they had throttle percentage and everything, and guys, the announcers knew if a guy got off the throttle even 1%, they're like, oh, he had to let up, that's going to cost him time, and that just a little amount during qualifying, if you got a little loose into a turn and you had to let off the throttle, you were losing time and you weren't going to get into that fast 6 or 12 or anything. So yeah, it is different. The speeds are different, but they're still going 225 down the backstretch in a race trim.
Yeah, I think I saw Joseph Newgarden had best lap of the day yesterday at 228, which.
And that's the car that so now, Foz, real quick, do they, in the month of May, when they first get there, how often are they for two-part question, what has to change with the car between qualifying and racing? You know, they talk about qualifying trim and race trim. What has to change the car in the car? And second part, how much are they running in their race trim leading up to qualifying, and how much are they running in their qualifying trim?
So that's, I mean, because that's probably the one thing that no other sporting event or racing event sees is televised practice for literally an entire month.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really happen, right? But no, like generally after the so it's actually like 2.5 weeks that these guys are trying to test and get everything done, and they have an open test in April. But as soon as the Grand Prix is over with, that normally they for the first for Monday or Tuesday, Wednesday they'll be in race trim, but they'll do like what's called like a qualifying sim, where they go out and they just see what their downforce levels are. And then Fast Friday is when they turn the boost up. So for qualifying, they turn the boost of the motor up quite a bit. I don't know the numbers exactly, but they turn the boost up, and then they want to actually take the downforce. They can make any of those modifications to the body of the car that they want in qualifying or race trim. The issue is tire degradation is going to be a key thing in qualifying trim, because you're going so much faster, and those tires are yawing and they're starting to eat, and it's sketchy. I mean, you can see, look how, if you watch qualifying, look how close those guys get to the turn 2 wall coming on their 3rd or 4th lap, just because they're losing the car. You can't sustain that for 35 laps before you got to change. So generally they run more race trim than what they do in qualifying trim, but that's adding downforce to race trim to help the car grip the pavement a little bit better. Now, like Pato, he's one that all of us love to watch, because he's just a go out there and get it kind of guy. I watched his documentary. There's, I don't know, like the last 3 years, as soon as they get to like the last two pit stops of the day, he starts taking down rear wing, because he wants downforce taken out, because he wants more speed. Unfortunately, poor guy just can't seem to get it done, but he's giving it everything that he can. But so they do make those minor adjustments throughout the race. But most of the time, I think they work on their race car more than they work on their qualifying.
So do you get a set amount of tires for the month, or just on race day, or how does that strategy work?
They do get a specific set for the month. I don't know what the number is. Everybody's is the same. You can't buy more. You can't buy less.
Anybody ever run out?
That's a fantastic question. I've never heard of it. Now, granted, I think it's...
Can you beg, borrow, and steal from others?
Yeah, can you share within your teams, or?
That's very... I would say yes, because there is, like, I think, like Catherine Legg's team, she's got like a sidebar sponsorship with AJ Foyt. Brian Herta had a team for forever that was sponsored with Andretti Global. Penske helps out some teams here and there. Now, I highly doubt that you're going to take any tires from Penske.
I don't think so.
Pretty sure he probably keeps those things.
Yeah.
Probably keeps those things pretty tight. But I think I'm sure there are strategies throughout that month. I mean, now granted, I'm sure that they also give them a fair allotment of them, because you do have incidents, you do have crashes, you do have tires that get eaten up for qualifying. Rossi and Pato aren't going to be able to use those tires that they had on Monday.
No, or their car necessarily.
Unfortunately, that one goes to the body shop. So But yeah, I'm sure that there's some sort of intermingling going on within inner squads, but it's yes, but I do know that everybody gets a certain allotted amount.
So who are the teams kind of change, but the mainstays, the Penske's that are there, but who are the drivers, or not drivers, who are the owners and who are the teams outside of Penske to watch for?
Definitely. I mean, Chip Ganassi. I mean, that's probably I would say he's got the driver that's the favorite. I mean, Alex Palous probably is. I mean, he's as good as what everybody wants to be. I mean, he's fast. So Chip Ganassi, Andretti Global, Alexander Rossi, barring any of his physical ailments after Monday, but the ECR cars look good between Rossi and Rasmussen.
And that's Ed Carpenter Racing?
Yep, that's Ed Carpenter Racing.
What about Ray Hall Letterman?
They just can't seem to find the gas. And
who's driving for them this year?
So that is going to be Graham is in the 15. Louis Foster is in the 45. Mick Schumacher's in the 47, and then Taku's doing Takuma Sato's doing a one-off, and he's a two-time champ. He does seem to always find speed. He just doesn't seem like he shares it very well with the other guys.
Who's Connor Daly drive for?
He's driving for Driver and Reinbold this year. He's a one-off. He's a one-off race this year. Unfortunately, I think he got race employed, I guess. Had a very successful year with Hunkos Hollinger last year, and they just didn't renew his ride. So he's kind of doing a one-off deal, and he looks probably as strong this year as I've seen him look since he's probably been with Ed Carpenter. So I'm excited for Connor as well.
Yeah, so Joseph Newgarden won in 2003 and 2004 back-to-back. Marcus Ericsson won in 2022, and Alex Palou winning last year. Outside of Alex Palou, who are the guys that you're watching for, and who are the guys, has IndyCar gotten into a situation where you're looking at it and you're like, okay, there are only 5 guys that can really win this, barring unforeseen circumstances, or is it more open at this point in time?
I don't think it's just 5 guys. Unfortunately, I think that's kind of the road course, and the street circuits are very, very interesting to watch, just because if you qualify well, those places are tough to pass. They are. Indy's a little bit of a different beast. All ovals are a little bit of a different beast. I mean, this is obviously the biggest oval that they drive on. Chip Ganassi has Scott Dixon, who is, arguably probably a top 25 racing driver of all time. He's very, very strong, and he's with Chip as well, and Palou. And then on the Andretti Global side, I mean, Will Power is a defending champion. Marcus Ericsson is a defending champion. Kyle Kirkwood is having a big year. I think he's second or third in the standings and already has a win under his belt. So he'll be fun to watch. He's kind of been sneaky fast. Didn't qualify well, but I look for Kyle to make some noise. To be honest, I think if I had to say that I was going to put bet somebody launch or something like that, I think I really look for David Malukas in the 12 car with Penske to make a big run this year. Rossi and Rasmussen, like I said, and Ed Carpenter cars, they look really, really good. And one guy you just can't ever count out is Helio Castroneves. You can't do it. I mean, he's always there. He's always fast. And
who's he with now? Is he still with Penske?
He has his own team.
Oh,
he's
okay.
He's in collab with Meyer Shank, so he's a part owner in Felix Rosenquist and
Armstrong. Marcus? No.
No. The 66 car, Armstrong. And then Elio does the one-off. So,
yeah, you talked about David Malukas. Right now, he's third betting favorite at 6.5 to 1 to win the race. Last year, he finished second. Racing for AJ Foyt Racing. Didn't run in 2024, and in 2023 started 23rd and finished 12th for Dale Coyne Racing. But he got into a Penske ride, which that's like, I'm trying to compare it to something in a different sport. But if Penske calls you up, you're going to have a good car. You're going to have a shot.
It's like your shoe deal in basketball is with Reebok, and then Jordan Brand calls you. That's what it is.
You're gonna go to that. You're gonna chase that. So David Malukas gets out of his contract with AJ Foyt Racing, goes to Penske. One of 3 Penske cars, correct, this year? Or there are 3. But he's the third betting favorite, and he's not necessarily. I'm not saying a lot of these guys are household names, but for when you think of IndyCar racing, you do think of Joseph Newgarden and Alex Palou and Pato O'Ward and Connor Daly. You'd probably name 7 or 8 drivers before you would name David Malukas.
I'd never heard the name before.
Yeah, and
every
second,
other guy that you just named, I'm like, oh yeah, know them.
If you name him at all, yeah.
Yeah, so he's the third betting favorite running for Penske, and yeah, to your point, Jason, he's 7th, 8th, 9th down the list of guys that you would list. So, what have you seen from David Malukas in the IndyCar series? And obviously there are reasons that he drives for Penske, but how big of a move is that? Even though he finished second last year with AJ Foyt Racing, how big of a deal is it to go from AJ Foyt to Penske?
Oh, him jumping to Penske is probably, you could probably see the writing on the wall, because I think Penske helped AJ last year a little bit. But like he's just, Malukas is because he's very young as well. I don't think he's 21 years old. He's a young kid, 21, 22 maybe, I'm thinking. But he has this racecraft of that's very, I don't know, it's very odd, because though he's very, very aggressive, he's also very patient. So that's why I think he does really well at Indy, because the one thing that you honestly can say is the best car is not necessarily going to win in the Indy 500. She gets to pick the winner. And I think that his time is definitely coming. I think this field is really, really strong. I look for him to do very well. But if you kind of meshed a Takuma Sato and a Scott Dixon together, I think you get a little bit of a David Malukas, which that's some pretty decent company. But he's very patient. He's very methodical. But yet he's not afraid to hang it out there on the edge. And I think with him having the best technology in the IndyCar series, I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with tomorrow.
Yeah, and David Malukas is 24 years old. He started racing at the Indy 500, like we said, in 2022. So started racing as a 19, 20-year-old in the Indy 500, which is just insane. Hasn't had a great season so far, or I don't know if he's ever won an IndyCar race. But to get in that Penske ride at 24 years old from Chicago, Illinois, you would think that and finishing second last year, you would think that this guy should start to become a household name. And I think he needs to get that win, but guys know Alexander Rossi, who won as a rookie back in 2016. Guys know these guys. So who is driving for Penske? And of the 3 Penske cars, Foz, who do you think has the best chance of winning?
Oh, wow, that's... Of the Penske cars,
so it's Malukas, Palou.
Malukas is in the 12. Scott McLaughlin is in the 3, and then Joseph Newgarden is in the 2. You could probably flip a coin.
Yeah, and Joseph Newgarden had the best.
You got 3-sided coins, Foz? Well, that's impressive.
Okay. You could probably flip a coin between the first 2 and then
kick the other one out.
But no, I think Newgarden.
he had the best time yesterday at Carb Day.
Yeah, ran well at Carb Day.
And that's in your race trim, not your qualifying trim.
That's all race trim. And then arguably probably has the coolest pass right in front of us on the last lap to win in 24. That was pretty neat. But, you know, he knows his way around this place and is pretty good. Scott McLaughlin, he decided that he was going to trash it during the pace laps last year, so he's coming back a little hungry this year. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'm sure Roger had him sweeping some floors or something after that. But he got, you know, all the way through his month of May and decided he wanted to smack a hold of the inside wall of the front stretch on, I think, lap 2 or 3, which was, I mean, sucks for him. It really does. But that's who we picked last year. We thought he was going to win it last year. He has been one of those that, because it seems like who does win is not somebody that just absolutely is blistered all over the internet or all over the TV. He's been kind of that sneaky fast around the 7th, 8th place, you know, pretty much on the speed charts all month. So he's one. I think probably Scott McLaughlin is probably the one that I would look for out of the Penske rides to get it done.
So of the 3 Penske cars, David Malukas is third betting favorite at 6.5 to 1. Joseph Newgarden is just behind Connor Daly at 8.5 to 1, and Scotty McLaughlin are at 10 to 1. So obviously it says something about being in a Penske car, but Alex Palou being at 2.7 to 1. Plus 270. That's Scotty Scheffler numbers basically when it comes, and that's basically Tiger Woods numbers when it comes to winning a golf tournament.
And this is a big event.
Then you have Pato O'Ward at 6 to 1. Pato O'Ward drives for who?
McLaren.
So he drives for McLaren. How has his month been, and what are the ramifications of Pato O'Ward and Alexander Rossi crashing on Monday of this week?
Yeah, so Pato has actually had a really good month up until Monday. Obviously, Monday, I mean, and he was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Unfortunately, that entire team is, with the exception of Ryan Hunter-Reay, who is somebody we pull for every year. We don't bet on him anymore because he just never came through.
No. I think I'm done burning that money on fire.
Yeah, so
or lighting that money on fire.
So RHR's doing a one-off with them, and then Christian Lundgaard and Nolan Siegel, but they're both in the 6 and 7. Haven't been as strong as what Pato's been, but you know, based on what I read from yesterday, Pato is most definitely trending in the right direction as far as what the ramifications are. Everybody keeps they do have to go to their backup car, but there wasn't we talked about this earlier in the week. I don't believe because it was a racing incident that they lose their spot. I know they don't lose their spot, but I think that the only way that they would have is if they did a voluntary engine swap. That would get them to that would put.
So they do get to start.
They get to start where they were. So I think what was it? Is Rossi second or third?
Yeah, I think
he's
so.
front row.
Yeah, front row. I think he's second.
He's got a broken right ankle. I want to know how that's going to feel after 3 hours.
Oh my!
So,
that's that sounds not
But
fun.
they'll find a way to do it.
And
that's the
that's-
amazing thing.
Yeah.
because I was talking to my dad about that, and a broken right ankle, which McGass is on the right, we all know that, and you have to steer left, and he has a broken left finger. So he's got his work cut out for him.
I think there's going to be some needles involved here. Numb
Yeah,
the area
yeah.
and go about your business. Now, you bringing that up about losing their spots, and this to me is the beauty of IndyCar, because Josh he was trying to make a point earlier in asking you, is it to the point where there's only 5 cars that could win? I don't think you can ever say that in IndyCar, because to win a race, you not only have to have a great driver, but you got to have all these things go right. There's so many different factors
Agreed.
that come into play, from weather to temperature to everything else happening around you. You know, pit stops happening because of a caution, and like, all of these different factors. Now, the better teams are prepared for those and can put themselves in a better spot to win. But to me, that's also what adds so much intrigue to the 500 in an event like that, because literally at any point, anything could happen.
Yeah.
And so that's what. But what I was going to ask is, let's say every condition is perfect for the entire day. What is the furthest back in the field it would be possible for somebody to win from?
Oof. Oh, wow.
They've got a fast car.
Yeah, I think Newgarden did it 2-3 years ago from 17th, maybe.
Yeah.
But perfect conditions. All right, perfect conditions. I think if it's perfect conditions and we don't have, any, it's mostly green flag stuff. I really don't think that you probably, if you don't start inside the top 10, I don't think you win.
So since 1987, there's been nobody that started outside of the top 20 that has won an Indy 500, and that was Al Unser starting from number 20 in 1987 and
Tell
winning.
me why that. And here's why I ask. And this is obviously a very, very, very IndyCar uneducated perspective. Like, you see them all lined up and everything as they go through their pace laps, and you're like, okay, he's starting 23rd. He's back there, but that's really not that far. Granted, I totally understand they're traveling 220 to 230 miles an hour, but it's 500 miles. And if I'm just a mile per hour faster, like, I should be gaining ground every lap that we make. So I totally understand that it happens because, you just gave, it's been since 1987. But make it make sense in my brain.
Why can't, if you're fast at 25th, why can't you do
Yes.
it? I don't know.
But make no, like, I can't compute that in my brain.
It all comes down to Rossi on the 100th. Did he do? It was a big strategy deal. I think he was. No, I think he started front 2 rows.
He started 11th in 2016.
Did he? Okay.
So Joseph Newgarden, from you said it started 17th in 2023 and won. Nobody outside of the top 8 since. So it was Newgarden in 2023 started 17th, and Rossi started 11th in 2016. Outside of that, it has been in the top 8 you needed to start.
So Rossi is a perfect example, because that was one that was, it was flooring, because we usually do 4 stops, 5 stops, give or take.
Probably 5.
Probably 5, and I think he did it in like 3 in a splash and go. Like, his last lap was, what'd they say it was, like 112 miles an hour?
Yeah,
because he was clutch and coasting and
Yeah.
So strategy just plays such a huge role into it, and by the time that these guys get through, and Josh and I, like, we're 2 little kids at 18 years old. When are they going to pit? When are they going to pit? We asked each other this question. Oh, I don't know. I can't hear what they're saying. So, but the strategy of everything really does kind of play into it. Jason, I think probably the best answer that I can give to you is, if that car is 1 mile an hour faster that's starting at 25th, he has 24 cars that are producing what's called dirty air. So he's not being able to utilize that extra 1 mile an hour. So he's constantly caught in traffic. If he does get through the field, he's getting slowed back down from some of the dirty air that's coming through, because he doesn't get to utilize that extra 1 mile an hour that he's faster than everybody else until he passes all 25 cars, which could take some time. So if he passes 10 cars in the first 30 laps, one bad pit stop and you're starting over.
And you just mentioned it there. What because it all comes down to strategy and things when it comes to your pit stops. And this is what we'll come back with. If you're trying to make up distance, you're trying to make up spots, is it better to pit a lap before the guys in front of you or a lap after they do? We'll come back with that. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Ride Auto. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tebby Law Office, and Buy-Ride Auto. Ryan Higginbotham, Josh Lee, Jason Simpson, joined today by special guest, the resident Indianapolis 500 expert, Derek Fosnot. Foz, when we went into break, I was asking you, from a strategic standpoint, when you're trying to make up ground, is it better strategically to pit a lap before the guys in front of you or a lap after them?
Well, it all depends on pretty much, or a little bit of luck, as well as track position, things like that. If you do pit a lap or two early, yes, that's going to get you in, get you out. But if they're running green, you got to remember when you come in, you're stopping for 7 to 8 seconds while these guys are doing 225. So, yeah, you're going to get back out and get back to speed. But when you're back to speed, that's when they're going in. So it's kind of a wash, right? Now, if you go in 2 laps early and come out and a caution happens, now we're in a good spot. Okay? So now everybody else has came in, you get back and you kind of get recycled back to the front.
So it's better to pit and then root for a caution in
A caution, or
2 laps or 7 laps, or
I would venture to say that what you would want, if you pitted 1 lap early, you would want the caution. Nobody ever wants cautions, but you, from a race strategy standpoint, you would want the caution as soon as you exit pit road.
and that's what guys that are starting, let's say 17 to 18 and back. That's kind of your strategy.
Because that puts you right to the front,
Right.
without really having to race for it.
And then at that point, you can go into, you can run it a little more. You don't get as far into the weeds of having to save gas and do those types of things because you're only moving at 90 miles an hour, so you're
Yeah,
already
because
in gas save.
you're only a lap down as far as a pit goes,
That's it.
but you're idling basically for an
Yeah.
Indy car
So-
going around.
So essentially, you gain that much track position, hoping that you have a good car, hoping that your setup is right. The guys that pit a lap late, you don't want that caution. That's what you don't want. You don't want that because track position, especially in your first, probably within your first stop or 2, is the most crucial because, as any of these guys can attest, one of the cool things that you see is the first 100 laps are really, really racy because, if it rains, after 101, it's official. So in Indiana in May, it could rain for no reason. So the first 100 are pretty racy. I will say that like 101 to 150 is probably when you want to kind of chill out, check your phone, do whatever you're going to do. 'Cause it's pretty
the guys in
simplified.
NASCARs used to smoke cigs.
I mean, those types of things. So, and then 150 to 200. 30 of those 50 you're probably on your feet because somebody's ran into something or it's getting dicey or something like that. But I think probably for the sake of track position, the strategy I genuinely don't think that there is a strategy that is foolproof without a little bit of luck.
How many years ago was it that they changed the track? And now I don't remember if they call it the warm-up lane, the cool-down lane, whatever it is. But when you're coming out of the pits and all that, you're not back on the track for a while. And then going into the pits, it used to be you veered off onto pit row, you went to your pit, you got as much as you could, and you were getting back into racing almost immediately. Now they have that inside lane, so you get back up to speed.
That's been there for, wow. I mean, it's been there since I started going to 97. So I would have to go back and look at some archive races and see what some of those are. But yeah, because it's essentially, so in practice, if you're going to pit, you have to utilize the cool down lane off of 3. You cannot do like a race pit except for carb day. Carb day is the only day that you can do that. In the race, you exit, and then it spits you out at the exit of turn 2, and
it spits you out right on the start of the backstretch, right?
And that's the other thing with some of that strategy is it also comes with some luck that hopefully that you fall into a car that's coming off of turn 2, so you can jump in the tow and it can get you up to speed a little quicker, because otherwise you're ripping through gears trying to get there as fast as you possibly can, and then your lunch is going to get ate by all the guys coming behind you because they're coming around at 225 and there's a group of 6 of them. You will only see like the bailout lane or the cool down lane utilize on race day in front of us, like off of the backstretch, if you have some sort of engine failure or we have a big problem or something like that, because they don't. Obviously, you lose that much time. You know, if you try to, I'm gonna pit, so I'm gonna jump off the backstretch and let 40 cars go by.
Yeah, and you know and that's the thing with starting so far back. You may have the best car, and there's been times when we've seen, I don't know exactly who, but let's just say Alexander Rossi starting 17th. You're like, okay, you can tell early that he's got the best car. But the problem is, it's not, even though you're faster, yes, you're going to pass the cars, but you're like trying to pick them off one by one, or, you know, two maybe in a lap. But the thing is, when you're starting, and this goes without saying, but it's important, if you're starting in the top 5, you have less traffic in front of you, obviously. So you may have the best car, but you're worried about your little pod that you're trying to pass at this point in time, but you're also hoping that nobody in the pods up here wreck, and then you're trying to pass and avoid and do all this. That's why it's, even regardless of if you start first or 33rd, you have to have the perfect day. And you have to be if you're starting so far back, you have to be the only one that has the perfect day. If a guy has a perfect day starting 20th and a guy has a perfect day starting second, the guy starting second is going to win. But yet there's just so much that's happening throughout every turn and every straightaway that when you're not up front all day, it's just so hard to navigate that.
And it's funny, because this is an event that's near and dear to both of our hearts, Josh. And yes, I know it's on bikes, it's not in Indy cars, but you know, little 500 at IU is modeled after the Indianapolis 500, the idea and things behind it. And just this year, that exact thing happened where, you know, it's 200 laps, and you have to be careful, and you've got to be lucky, and you got to do all these things for all 200 laps. There was a pack of like 8 teams going into lap 200. Well, and you know, there's different strategies with exchanges and things like that. A team that was in that pack went out, like sprinted out in front to switch for another rider for lap 200. When he tried to merge back into the pack, he went too fast and wiped out like 6 of the top 8 teams. And so then 2 other the 7th of those 8 teams had to slow down so they didn't go down, and then the 8th team was kind of in back. They just went through and they coasted to an easy win on lap 200. And those are the things that can happen, you know, especially when you're talking about cars that are moving 230 miles an hour. I mean, it's fractions of a centimeter of a tweak on that wheel, or, you know, if something happens funky and one tire is worn more than, like, all these different things can come into play, and then boom, you're into the wall, you bump another car, you spin out, whatever it is, and now here comes somebody from behind you, and they're the ones that are drinking the milk in winner's circle.
Yeah, I mean ask Pato O'Ward. I mean, he has been, I think he's been the fastest guy in the last 3 years of Sundays that we've been to this thing. I mean, he just didn't have the perfect day. He crashed in turn 3 right in front of us with Ericsson 1 and 22. He just didn't have enough for Joseph when he got 3rd and 23. The last lap pass in 24, when Newgarden went around him on the outside of 3, and he made the correct adjustments there. He passed Newgarden on the front stretch on the last lap. That's what you want to do, because they have 2 miles at that point to figure out how to get to you. And then last year it was just, you know, he just had some strategy mistakes and things like that. But it's pretty cool to see that race has been decided the last, probably more times than not in the last 5 or 6 years, that it's been decided in the lap 198 or 199.
And you know, going back to 2011, this is probably the most famous crash in the history of the race. It's up there anyway. When rookie J.R. Hildebrand was leading by a half a lap, and you see him coming into 3, again, half a lap ahead or at least a whole backstretch. And the guy, if you go back and watch the race telecast of that, you're like, oh, they just say he has to make 2 more good turns. And one guy says he just has to get past this slower lapped car. And all of a sudden, he just, I don't know if he didn't take it off the throttle or what, but just going around a car that was going 30 miles an hour slower with a half a lap lead, he hits the wall coming out of turn 4. And he had such a lead that on that telecast, they're like, stay on the gas. Hopefully he can get across the finish line. And then here comes Dan Weldon to come from second to pass him with, a couple hundred yards left. And that's just, you can make 799 perfect turns. And one car that got somewhat out of the way, probably should have been on that inside track that you were talking about, just didn't get all the way out of the way, and Hildebrand was probably tasting the milk already and lost just a fraction of focus and ended it just like that.
Yeah. To that point, let me ask you this. What purpose does it serve if you're 35 laps down and you're obviously doing nothing but getting in the way? Why do cars even bother staying in the race and running laps? And if you tell me it's to get experience, I might smack you.
Money.
It's 100% money. Yeah.
Because the owners and sponsors want to see their car going, regardless of what the outcome is.
And, the team will get a bonus if a car finishes as opposed to doesn't finish. That's part of how all that banquet stuff works the next day. And, that's wholeheartedly what it is. It's not for experience, because I'm telling you, Marco Andretti a couple of years ago just would have parked it. He was upset. He really was.
That happens a lot. It happened a lot with Marco Andretti, it seemed like.
First year, and
happens a lot with Graham Rahal.
And both of them they're just kind of whiny.
That's when you were born on third base and thought you hit a triple with those 2 guys.
Those first year and, I don't know, a lot of years that we don't have an Andretti in the field.
Yeah, it's since I can remember, anyway.
Because, Marco was our senior year in high school, was his rookie year, the one where he got passed by Sam Hornish on the last lap.
Yeah.
That was, wow. I really didn't even think about that. But, no, it was a couple of years ago, and it was Mario's 50th anniversary or whatever it was since he had won, and they're telling him to pit, and he's like, why? What for? What are you going to change?
What's the point? Yeah.
So, some of that stuff is...
And it's just crazy that, you can have... And just overnight, they're not making any adjustments to the car, and you can have speed on Friday, on carb day, and your car wakes up on Sunday, and you hear guys on the radio say, we just don't have it. I can't find the speed. What can cars do? What can they do during a pit stop? Or are all those adjustments during or in the car? Or what can they do to make those adjustments?
When they talk about finding speed, they're pressing all the buttons on the steering wheel. They're doing roll bar stuff. When they pit, they're taking some wing out for downforce stuff. Because you're right. How many times have we seen Joseph Newgarden ran 228 miles an hour in tow, and he may not pass 10 cars tomorrow. Who knows?
You would think that, like, Alex Palou winning it last year you would think all these cars would be, especially Alex Palou or guys that have won have been like, this was the setup last year. The car didn't change. We're going to do the exact same thing. You would think
that, that's what you would think, and I to that point, how is, when you talk about Rahal Letterman, how is Takuma so much better than the other 3, and he only does it once a year? How does that happen?
So are they?
One guy owns the team.
Yeah.
One of the drivers owns the team. How are we not hacking into that computer and saying, I want what he has?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
So are the Penske's and the Ganassis, are they robbing Peter to pay Paul? Basically, are they not solely focused, but are they more focused on the best guy that has the guy that has the best chance to win. Does that change during the race? Like, if McLaughlin is at 24th and Newgarden is in second, are they like, okay, all the focus is going into Newgarden?
I would venture to say yes. I would venture to say that we're not. I mean, it's awful to say it this way, but you know, the guy in 24th is kind of your lost cause.
If
unfortunately
McLaughlin crashes and is out of the race, are his guys allowed to go over, or are they?
Yes, now you can't have, like, his pit crew members can't come over,
right?
But the strategists, the engineers, then it's kind of just because Scott decided that he only wanted to do 3 laps as opposed to 200, doesn't mean that those guys get a day off. That's not the way that works. I mean, that's been said, that there's still work to be done. You know, you talked about, like, Palou, who won last year and who was fairly strong. I mean, yeah, he was tested, but he responded to tests very, very well last year. You know, a lot of that car that won last year, tomorrow it's going to be 12 degrees cooler and no sunshine. So that car would probably respond completely differently than it did last year. But I'll be 100% honest. Chip Ganassi has a real bad call. If Alex Palou is second, Scott Dixon's fourth, what do you do? Because you've heard some of the stuff on the, if you listen to some of the radio traffic, and listen to some of, like, the onboard stuff, there will be guys that are, hey, such and such is 2 behind you. What do you want to do here? They'll hit the button and say, I don't want to talk about that right now, because they don't want a strategist on the other booth to hear it. Mm-hmm. And that's fair. That is fair. I love Josh to death, one of my best friends in the whole world. But if I'm fourth and he's second and I'm faster than he is, I'm not telling him what I got. I'm fixing to give it to him. But
I think this is kind of to Josh's point. I think those team owners and pit crews and pit chiefs and all this stuff, I think they realize if the guy in fourth is definitely faster and there's still 25 laps to go, I mean, unless there's something catastrophic that happens, that guy in second can't win the race, most likely. So you're going to have that guy like, hey, keep doing what you're doing, but we're going to get to a point where he's going to be coming up, and you've got to do what you can to help him win. Now, if you're in a position to win, do it. But we just feel like, over the last 80 laps, he's been by far better than you are. You're hanging on with duct tape and a rubber band sort of thing, I
mean, the theory of that completely makes sense. I would venture to say that there is not a driver in this field that says I'm not helping anybody win from second. I mean, there's been, NASCAR's.
Don't burst my bubble. Don't tell me that there are not shake and bake moments, Boz.
Not in this one. Not in this one, because everybody wants to win this one.
Come on, Ricky, just let me win one.
Yeah, but then how am I going to win? But if you win, how am I going to win? No. I mean, you can look at some, like NASCAR, those guys, teammates or not, they just smash into each other. They don't care. You can't really do that in IndyCar because the open wheel stuff gets spun around a little easier than the big cars do. But I'm trying to think of who it was. I think it was Ericsson when he won in 22 with Ganassi. He didn't want to talk about what he had because Dixon was in 4th or 5th, and Dixon's not a guy that you want. He's not the guy that you want to know what you're messing with because he will fix it.
Yeah, so we've went an hour and a half almost talking about the race, and I think there's only one guy that could win the race, and that would be one Kurt Signetti, who's driving the pace car. I think if Kurt Signetti entered in anybody's car, he would find a way to win.
Guarantee it.
He's just
There's
that
no
good.
question about it.
He's just that good.
He may not lead the most important lap, but he's going to lead the first 4. That's a
fact. So what do you think? I mean, we'll get back to it, but what do you think that means to Kurt Signetti and the Indiana football program? Is that a huge deal or is it just cool as an Indiana fan that he's driving the pace car?
Because of how old he is, I think he understands the tradition and everything. Like, he's going back to the Mario Andretti days, and when AJ Foyt was still, he's still a big name, but he was a big deal in the race because he was still competing. And then, he's been through the Rick Mears and Al Unser Juniors and all of that. I think it means a lot to him, but I think, from a program perspective and stuff, I think it's just cool that you're able to say it. I don't know that it's obviously, if it's going to mean anything at all in recruitments and stuff, they'll throw it out there.
If you can get the perfect day tomorrow is listening to Jim Corneliuson, IU alum, singing Back Home Again in Indiana, Kurt Signetti driving the pace car, and Connor Daly from Noblesville, Indiana, winning the race. That would be the triumphant of just beautiful things happening.
Literally the most
Indiana.
Hoosier thing that could happen outside of a national championship that we won earlier.
Yeah, it could.
Now, wait, before we get back to the race, I do have to say the internet and Twitter are still undefeated. Sorry, little brother. That would be all you Purdue fans. Saw a tweet this week. There's a celebration from Purdue because they broke a school. I air quote this again. I do that at least once a week.
Yeah.
They broke a school record with overall team GPA in football.
That's good.
What was it, 3.1?
3.5 something.
Yeah.
But then somebody put, congratulations, Purdue, your GPA is higher than the total number of points you've scored against IU in the last 2 seasons.
Fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic.
I don't think they're getting Barry Odom to drive the pace car anytime soon for Purdue.
Purdue does have a great marching band. They do a great job on the front stretch every year.
Yeah, they have the world's largest bass drum. Congratulations. We have a national championship.
Old Sig can wave to him as he drives by the pace car.
He's just flashing his national championship ring. He's waving backhanded. Hey, guys, how's it going?
And what he should do is he should wave like this. And again, I know this is an audio medium, but hand down, say, sorry, the national championship ring is so big, I can't raise my hand vertically. So anyway, from the race perspective, give me, and they might be the same, give me 2 names. The person that one person that you think will win, and one person you hope, like you're really cheering for, you're hoping that they win.
Well, it's hard not to cheer for Connor. It really is. I will definitely cheer for Connor Daly, but the think who I think's gonna win. Okay, well, I've been wrong before. That's on record, Josh. You're welcome.
Yeah, we know this.
But I don't like to see guys that haven't or that have won it win it again. But who I think is going to win again, I think Scott Dixon does it. I really do. He's been fast, but I would say if I had to pick 2 between Scott Dixon and Scott McLaughlin, I probably just wouldn't pick, but I think Dixon's probably got a little better race car.
So you don't think the guy that is first in odds or has the best odds to win, who's been the best car, who won last year, in Alex Palou, you don't think he goes back to back?
He's
the best driver in the series.
He is, and Newgarden was as well, and he did go back to back. Those things don't happen that often. It's happened. Elio did it in 01 and 02. Nobody did it until Newgarden did it, and for it to happen twice in 5 years, I don't think Mother Indy lets that happen. I don't.
So yeah, Alex Palou starting 1, Alexander Rossi starting 2, David Malukas starting 3. Then you have Rosenquist, Ferrucci, and Pato Award. Simpson, Daly, McLaughlin are your top 9. You think that the winner comes outside of the first 2 rows?
I think, yeah.
You're going to talk me into betting Scott Dixon tomorrow, and I'm going to be so mad that we didn't bet.
Well, and I think this has to be our last year because I think we've done Dixon the last 3 years, and he's turning into our RHR a little bit.
Yeah,
because it seems like the last 2 years he's been right there. It's just something stupid happens with strategy.
You know, it's crazy. Guys starting 4th and 5th, and Felix Rosenquist and Santino Ferrucci. We haven't even mentioned them, and they've been great the last few years on race day. Can you see though? I mean, obviously you can see them winning, but what do you think about those two guys and how their month has played out?
So Ferrucci is one of those where he's a go for broke guy. I mean, he really is. I mean, if he has any shot, if he's top 6 with 30 to go, it's a fair possibility he's either going to win or he's going to stick it in the wall. I mean, that's just what he is. I mean, I think his nickname is Full Sun Ferrucci. So, I mean, he's going to be fun to watch.
Joseph Newgarden, starting 23rd, had the best car yesterday.
Which is, I mean, it's going to be a racy day. It really will. I really do believe that. It's going to be overcast. If we do get the rain that they're calling for, it's going to wash off some more grip that they laid down yesterday. It's going to be a racy day. I really do believe it. I'm excited for it. Because you talk about Ferrucci, that wasn't even the fastest Foyt car. Collette got moved to the back because of a penalty, and he was. Caio's got. I mean, he was in a rocket ship. I mean, he was fast. I think he's probably the fastest 33rd starter that we've seen in quite some time, because I think he had like a 230 mile an hour average, and he's starting at the back of the field. So, I mean, he's going to be a fun one to watch. Unfortunately, he doesn't really have the race experience for Indy, because I think he's a rookie that's coming up through the junior series. So, but like you said, Ferrucci, Daly, any of those guys. I mean, it's probably at first 5 rows. I mean, it could be anybody. It really could. I would like to think that Dixon's Racecraft will probably take over. I'm pretty sure I'm 0 for 3 on him. I did call Newgarden in 23. I will say that.
Yeah, I think I had some shekels on Newgarden in 23.
But and before Monday, I would have said Alexander Rossi was the guy to beat. But I just don't know with a broken ankle and a broken hand.
Make for a heck of a story if that is who does it.
I mean, it probably wouldn't be a bad bet just to see what his odds are.
So would of these storylines off the top of my head I can think about, we mentioned the Rossi storyline. We mentioned Connor Daly being from Indianapolis, that storyline. Scotty McLaughlin spinning out, crashing on the pace laps last year, or Castroneves winning his 5th Indy 500, which would put him in the only one.
Easy answer.
What's the best story?
Easy answer. In Indiana, locally, it's Connor Daly. Nationally, because of who he is, it'd be Elio winning his 5th, because he's got the whole Dancing with the Stars and that whole audience. And that would play longer than anything else.
And I think I would have to agree with that. From a national standpoint, I think Elio, being the only driver in the history of the Indianapolis 500 to win 5, probably does it.
And especially, I think you add to that, obviously around Indy, he's still known, but you don't really hear about him a whole lot on the circuit and stuff. He's not.
Are you talking about Elio?
Yeah.
Elio's. This is the only event that he does. He's retired.
And so it's one of those things that he shows up. It's almost like Tiger and guys like that. I'm going to show up at the majors, and then you're not going to see me again for another year, sort of thing, So
yeah, but Elliott does a little better job of making the cut.
Yeah.
But I think I would probably say that it's probably one of the most Hoosier things in the world if Kurt Signetti leads it out and Connor Daly finishes it. That'd be pretty freaking sweet.
It's literally written in the stars for that to happen.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
With serendipity being what it is around Kurt Signetti and everything that he's touched since he stepped foot in Bloomington, Indiana, if that doesn't happen, there is something wrong with the Indy 500 gods. Like that should be set in stone that is going to happen.
But you say that though, is it a better story for Daly or is it a better story for Ed Carpenter to do it?
Yeah, I mean, Ed Carpenter's been around. He's grew up on the track.
He's as Indianapolis as Indianapolis gets. I mean, he's an Indiana guy.
I just don't think he gets talked about because
he's a fantastic starter and has an average finish of 9th.
Yeah. You know,
where is he starting?
So he's starting 13th.
So he's in a position he could still win.
He's got a spot.
Okay.
Yeah,
he's got a spot.
You know, Connor Daly's dad, Derek Daly, does the commentary for the race. I don't know if he's on NBC anymore, but did it forever. Now he's one of the guys that you hear covering a turn for, you know, when you're at the track and you can hear it. So, but yeah, Connor Daly's been around the race forever.
His stepdad is Doug Bowles.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Who is it? His stepdad or father-in-law?
It's a stepdad.
Yeah.
His mom divorced Daly and married Doug Bowles.
Okay.
So,
well, that's not a bad bad story either.
Doug Bowles, who does everything that IMS can do, and Derek Daly, who I believe is a steward now, so he's a race official. I mean, Connor's in good company. I mean,
yeah.
Come on, dude.
Yeah, let's
Gas is on the right, bro.
Yeah. Turn left, hit your right gas pedal, my friend.
Left and loud. Let's go. So
well,
I'm
so
him.
Foz is going Scott Dixon.
Connor.
You think will win, and you hope Connor wins.
Yep.
You stole my hope. Like, I'm going to be rooting for Connor Daly tomorrow. And this is kind of like it's like being a fan of an NBA team, and they're good, and they just keep getting to the doorstep, and they're learning along the way, and then they finally have that breakthrough, but they just weren't ready. I think that Pato O'Ward wins tomorrow, and it's because of all, no pun intended, it's all the miles on the tires and experience he's gained over these last few years, and being right there. I think tomorrow is the breakthrough, and I think that is who wins. But I hope I'm really, really rooting for Connor Daly.
Yeah,
and I love the Ed Carpenter pick too, though. Like as a hope for, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, I'm hoping for Connor Daly, but I'm gonna go with David Malukas to win. He finished second again last year, not in a Penske. He upgraded to a Penske and is starting third this year. From Chicago, Illinois, again, doesn't get talked about. But I think that Malukas gets it done, but I'm really, really pulling for Connor Daly. I mean, I've never bought a shirt of anybody, but it's getting close to Connor Daly time. So I think the majority of the crowd is going to be rooting for Connor Daly, so hopefully he can pull it off. But I'm going to go with David Malukas to win it.
I like it.
Ryan?
Gosh. Obviously, hope for Connor Daly, obviously. A big guy that, I watched, even when I was, younger, obviously Scott Dixon, Ed Carpenter, all them. But I'm going to go with Jason. I think Pato is finally going to get it done. But the off chance, we talked earlier about the chance of a guy, starting 20 or back. Give me Stingray Rock, 31.
Stingray Rock. I wouldn't put very much money on Stingray Rock.
You're not going to have to because he's 200 to 1.
Yeah, throw $1 on him and hope it happens. Maybe it's the year, guys, that somebody outside of the top 20 wins. Been 38 years, 39 years. It will be. Joseph Newgarden, starting 23rd, was the fastest yesterday in race trim. I know he needs to have everything happen for it to win when it comes to crashes and cautions and weather, but he's probably the best chance that there has been starting outside the top 20, and since I can remember, that he can make his way through that field and get it done.
Where is Takuma Sato starting?
Sato.
He's starting 12th.
Okay.
That's
and
a really good spot for him.
what about? Oh, daggone it! Just lost his name. Is that the starting grid?
Yeah.
Let me see. You guys go
So
ahead.
Castro Nevis is starting 14th, Newgarden 23rd, Rossi second. So he's a guy. I mean that that ankle thing is a real problem.
It's gonna hurt.
But good thing he's not LeBron James, or he'd be out for the rest of his career. But he's a little tougher than
We
LeBron.
can only hope for that.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, it's a super balanced race, and you look at the racing to win odds. You can see Vegas thinks it's a super balanced race. I think this is a year, and it's hard to go back and remember the betting odds from the previous years, but this is as wide open as I've seen it in the last 10 to 15 years.
Will Power at 19, Kyle Kirkwood at 25,
Kyle
And
Kirkwood
Marcus-
is not going to be the winner of the
and
Indianapolis
Marcus
500.
Erickson at 17th. Those are, I mean, that's the Andretti group there. They've got their work cut out for them in a big way.
Yeah.
A big way.
Here's a random question, and it goes back to I think it was on qualification day. There was a huge tailwind going down the back stretch, but then that meant coming down the front stretch there was a huge headwind. And like I said, I had heard that on the back stretch there was somebody that got up to 244 with that tailwind. Do you know historically what is the highest speed that's ever been recorded there by an Indy car, not by something else?
Just off the backstretch into there?
No, I'm just saying anywhere on the track, what's the top speed a car has ever gotten to?
That's probably it.
Yeah, that's probably
This year in
close.
qualifying, those numbers are probably.
With that tailwind.
For that right there, that's probably pretty close. I mean, Ari Leyendijk did a 4-lap average at 2:37, so I'm sure he did fine on the backstretch that day.
Which is crazy because that was 30 years ago. 40 years ago,
96, yeah. 1996.
Yeah, so just with all the technology, they were still getting that kind of speed way back then.
That was the old turbine days.
Yeah. So you're hoping for a relatively clean race. A few years ago, I think the average speed was 190 miles an hour. It's usually in the 160s because they take cautions and stuff into play. If you can get it in that, so does a guy like Newgarden need a lot of cautions, or does he just need them at the right time? Is he hoping for a relatively clean race, or does he want it, multiple cautions?
I think he's got to have some luck. I really do. I think he's got to have, even if it's not necessarily cautions, Jay. I think he needs some bonehead moves in pit lane with some of the top dogs. I mean, he really does. I mean, he's gonna need some of that, because to sit here and say that he's just going to be able to wheel it around 25 guys and not have any issues is not necessarily the way that works. So I think, I would say he probably needs a caution or two. They need to probably get off a pit sequence pretty early. Rather that be pit early or pit late. I'll let the math guys figure that out. That ain't me. But he needs to get out of sequence pretty early, and then he needs some sort of stupid stuff to happen on pit road, or like a debris on track caution type thing. He needs a lap of that for sure.
It's just crazy to me that, again, it hasn't happened since 1987. Somebody 20th or worse winning, and he has the 5th best odds starting at 23rd to win. So. Look,
he's not
Vegas
bad.
wasn't built by giving away winners.
No kidding.
So it's built on the back of losers. So why are his odds so good? Like, to me, that seems like a sucker bet. Like, it's not a smart bet looking at historical data to bet him, but yet Vegas has him 5th best to win, well ahead of Alexander Rossi, who's starting 2nd, well ahead of Santino Ferrucci, who's starting 5th, well ahead of Felix Rosenquist, who's starting 4th. The guy starting 23rd has the 5th best odds to win. That just tells you how much Vegas and how good his car is.
He's Penske. He's in a Penske ride, and he's.
I'm not betting a guy that started 23rd.
But here's the thing. You know what this
two-time
is?
winner.
But Vegas is saying that he's won 2 out of the last 4.
But you know what this is? Like every sport now, like this shows you every sport has it. That because he is a Penske car, it's like in the NBA. Well, LeBron's on the team. The Lakers stink.
Yeah.
They're not good. But LeBron's on the team. In the NFL, well, it's the Cowboys. In Major League Baseball, well, it's the Yankees. It's all because of the brand or a name. It's not necessarily how. No, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm not saying that. But the reason there. And you would think it's Vegas. They're going to look at all this historical data and everything that's come before. The odds of him winning from that far back don't have anything to do with his skill as a driver. Just look at the history of the race. It ain't
Right.
going to happen. Why are you giving him such good odds? You're giving him such good odds because he drives for Penske. It's a Penske bum.
You would think, though, that Vegas would want to put him at 15, 20 to 1, so more people would bet him, knowing that nobody outside of the top 20 has won since 1987. Why wouldn't his odds be 20 to 1? Because if they were 20 to 1, we would all we throw in $20 each. We pick a driver. That's who we bet. We root for him. We would all throw our $20 on Joseph Newgarden at 20 to 1. But starting 23rd, we're not throwing it on there at 8.5 to 1. So why wouldn't Vegas make it higher so they get more money bet on him?
8.5 to 1 at 20, starting 23rd. That's pretty crazy.
Bold move, Cotton.
That's money that I'm not going to throw. I mean, I'm rooting for Joseph Newgarden. I would love to see that happen. At some point in time, that history has to be broken at some point in time. And he's got the car, he's got the experience, he's got the wins, he's got the team. Maybe Vegas knows something that we don't know. They typically do.
They could. And I don't mean by speed, although speed's equated into it. What's the fastest race you've ever been to from a time perspective?
I just had that pulled up. I'll pull it back.
I think it was. Okay, so it would have been. So if I'm not mistaken, it would have been probably 14, 15 area, because I think one of those 14, 15, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there, they had like 78 lead changes where they were just moving back and forth. And
so
it was
very, very, very few cautions.
No, I don't know that we had one.
You're spot on with that 13, 14, 15. In 2013, the average speed was 187,
which is just
the race time was 2 hours and 40 minutes. That was won by Tony Kanaan. The very next year, average speed 186, 45 seconds longer than the previous year. And then the next year with Juan Pablo Montoya, the average speed was 161, and the race was 3 hours and 5 minutes, so 25 minutes longer. We had one in 2021 when Castro Neves won. 190 miles an hour.
That's fast.
2 hours and 37 minutes. Typically, it's in that 165 to 175 range, but those 3 years are the outliers.
That was like because if I'm not mistaken, that 13 one, that was Josh's because I think that was actually the hottest one too. It was like
man.
the
brutal ones.
He blacked out. He doesn't remember.
In the top of where we sit at, it was like a heat index of like 98 degrees or something. And Josh was just like, "I'm going back to the car.
See you guys." If the walk wasn't 2 miles back to the car, I would have been back to the car. I think I volunteered to drive that year.
He was like praying for shade, and there wasn't a cloud for 300 miles.
You know it gets bad when you're sitting there at like lap 107 and all the cars are kind of bundled up and it's hot and you're like,
just call.
There's still 90 minutes.
Is this over yet? Just be done. Be done. We've said the same jokes. Okay, I'm tired of beer. Like, let's just get this over with. And we haven't had one of those for a while. But a lot of that is the planning that you do on Saturday night. So if you're smart on Saturday night, Sunday's better. So I got to
You just said something that you're not. So
I got it. Well, last night we went pretty big. So hopefully today we take it easy, but I don't know.
How much faith you got in this guy that that's going to happen?
I-
0 or less than 0?
I have all the faith in the world that I will probably be the responsible one of the group.
No, I'm talking about this guy to our right.
I'm to Ryan's left, so I don't know who you're talking about. Okay.
I would probably take Newgarden at 8.5 to 1, starting 23rd.
My odds are worse than that. So
Makes perfect sense.
yeah, but it looks like we have. Hopefully that rain stays away. But it does look like an overcast day, mid-70s. So it's going to be, if that rain stays away. Foz, what is the perfect weather for those cars to race under?
Essentially what we got. 70 degrees,
Overcast.
overcast, because the hotter the track is, the slower it'll be. So if they can,
The hotter the track is, the slower the cars are.
because
And what
that's
makes that?
Because of once the track gets hotter, tires start to soften, they grip more. Your downforce level ends up being higher by default, just because the car is gripping the ground more. Those cars are, when the track temperature is cooler, it takes some of the downforce out, which makes it a little more skatier, I guess. So essentially,
Almost like they're hovering is what they want.
yeah, it's the difference in skating on fresh ice as opposed to chewed up ice, right?
Yeah.
So when you skate on chewed up ice for ice skates, you can't get the push,
A little
or
slower.
the glide, right? So I really do, especially with some of the water. I'm really glad that they got yesterday in. That's fantastic, because I was thinking that it was going to be a pit lane disaster, because of Monday everybody wiped out, and then it started raining, so nobody did pit practice because after qualifying they move everybody's pit boxes. If they don't practice yesterday and they didn't practice Monday, everybody's just kind of winging it when they come into pit road. So, but I think 70 degrees and overcast. I think it's going to be, with a real field temperature of 65. That's the perfect spot. They'll be hauling the mail.
Max UV index 2.2
Look
low.
out.
So
He's not even going to pack it.
He's not even bringing it.
He's not even going to bring it.
I'm wearing a cutoff shirt, and I'm not even bringing
That's not good for
sunscreen.
anything. Let's be honest.
So yeah, hopefully
Info.
that rain stays away. So we have about 10 minutes left. Let's give a driver who you think will disappoint, and somebody that you think, even if they don't win, will outperform what everybody has kind of said over the last month of May.
Wow, that's a good one.
I think he's either going to win or he'll disappoint. He won't just have a decent race, and it'll be Palou, because he's just been so talked about. And then, granted, I listened to the race. Even though now the blackout is lifted, you cannot beat the radio coverage of the 500.
They are
It's
so
impossible.
good.
So good.
But I swear, over the last umpteen years, however many he's been around, I feel like the name that you just constantly hear is Takuma Sato. And I haven't heard him really talked about at all. So it would not shock me one bit if he's the guy
Which
that
could be dangerous for a lot of those guys.
yeah. He will be the guy that might jump up and surprise.
Ryan, you have a disappointment and a surprise.
I feel like Elio would be probably a disappointment. I just feel like he'll probably fall back soon enough. A surprise, I don't think it's really a surprise, especially since he's one of the betting favorites. But I think Newgarden will probably end up in the top 6 by the end of the race.
That would be a heck of a ride if you could get from
That's a big
23rd to
move.
6th.
That's a big move, yep. So my biggest disappointment, Probably my biggest disappointment, I think, has potential to be Pato. I think Pato could get real close again, and almost like maybe he's like an Andretti cousin or something, and just got the curse. And I think probably the biggest surprise. I think probably the biggest surprise I would have is if Graham Rahal got inside the top 10.
Oh, please don't let that happen. That guy. I don't know.
He's always got something to say about something. It's always somebody else's fault, but
Yeah. I'm going to
surprisingly if he passes 18 cars and gets into the top 10, it'll be a because he did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to go I like Ryan's call on Newgarden. I like him not winning, but I do like him to make his way through the field and finish in that top 5 or 6 area. I hate to say it, but because we all won it, I think Connor Daly is going to be the biggest disappointment.
Not anywhere close.
I just, it's either. I think he's either going to be so close that it's a disappointment that way, or something's going to happen and he just kind of falls to the back of the field. I hope that's wrong, but to me that would be the biggest disappointment and what we're all not hoping to happen. But I think sometimes everybody just wants it so bad for him, and he wants it so bad that it's kind of like the Michael Andretti, right? You just get so caught up in it, and he gets so caught up in it. I think he could be one that kind of falls down the field, but I'm hoping he wins.
Real quick, we've done 500 talk now for almost 2 hours. I do have one quick question, since we've got Foz here, and he's a golf fan as well, as like we are. I understand it because of the day and age that we live in, and you can make a lot of money streaming and doing these things. And maybe I'm thinking about this all wrong. Why in the world would Bryson DeChambeau consider not golfing anymore to grow his YouTube channel? Because doesn't his popularity come from golfing, and then he turns that into content? What am I missing?
I'm a YouTube golf fan. I really am. I watch that stuff.
Oh, I do. Like, I watch his content, but he's saying he may stop golfing to try to grow his brand. Would that not hurt his brand if he's still not also golfing?
I don't know. Wesley Bryan's been suspended for how long, and he's making a killing. I mean, that's.
I've never heard of that guy.
But
It's good golf right there.
It's kind of crazy to me. Bryson DeChambeau for a long time was not liked by the golf world. Maybe it was his hat. Maybe it's because he's different than everybody, and his irons are all the same length, and everything was just kind of off about him. And then because of YouTube, he kind of got to be a favorite of a lot of people. And I think it would rub a lot of people wrong, myself included, if once Liv is done, if he says, you know what, I'm not coming back to the PGA Tour. I'm going to play in the majors, and I'm going to do YouTube golf. I think all the goodwill that he's built up over the last few years would go by the wayside.
See, I didn't know that caveat was in there, that he would still play in the majors.
Well,
so he's still going to be
exemption.
playing.
But he wouldn't play on the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He'll
okay.
have, because of his U.S. Open win, I think he'll have exemption for.
He probably has 4 or 5 more years.
I would say he's got exemption for all of them for 5 years. Maybe not the PGA.
Then I just answered my own question. If he's still entering some events and it's the majors, he's still going to keep a brand name outside of. Okay.
But look what he's done in the first 2 majors. He hasn't even made the cut in either one. So you go down that route, you don't play competitive golf, and you try to jump back in it, and you start missing cuts, and you're a non-factor.
True.
Wouldn't your brand lessen at that point in time?
And that goes back to my initial question. And what's funny about it is where I started to really see his online presence was that challenge that he did, and I watched it through TikTok, where day one he got 1 attempt, 2 attempts, where he was trying to hit a hole-in-one over his house.
Yeah.
Like, that was hugely popular. But granted, the dude could not do another thing for the rest of his life. He ain't ever going to be struggling. He doesn't need the money anymore.
Well, pretty nice house. He was hitting a golf ball over.
Exactly. But eventually, there's only so many of those things that you can do. I would think, before they start to get stale or you run out of ideas or whatever.
So Bryson has 2 U.S. Opens. Does he have another one?
I think that's it. I don't think he's won a PGA or
Shinnecock and Pinehurst.
yeah.
But I think the difference is for me is the fan base and how the fans reacted to him at Pinehurst. I mean, I would have to attribute a fair percentage of that to his YouTube following. I mean, I really would, and maybe the vocalness of his hatred of Rory, I guess, maybe, but I don't really know.
But you think about it, like he seems like a guy that loves the Ryder Cup, and if he has no status anywhere, he's not going to make the Ryder Cup.
That's done, yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess if he comes out and he wins 3 majors a year,
well, then
I mean, that'll
I would do it. Yeah,
I mean, Scotty Scheffler's got something to say about that.
I think so, and Rory.
Yeah, very much so. All right, well, fellas, another 2 hours in the books. Huge thanks to you, Foz, for coming out and sharing your expertise with us as you've done. I think this is, 4th or 5th year in a row now.
It's a blast. I enjoy it every year. Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate you coming in, and, everybody enjoy the race tomorrow. I mean, it's a foundation of what makes us all Hoosiers, and so enjoy the spectacle. You guys have a great time being in attendance. I'm still a few months away, but I'm in my 50th year, and I still have yet to ever go to a race itself. So
we got to get you there. We say it every year.
At some point, I'll have to bite the bullet and be in attendance, because it is something that I know that, especially as a Hoosier, that I need to witness in person. And then obviously everybody be sure that that we keep in mind exactly. Yeah, we know it's about the 500 as Hoosiers, but remember what this weekend's all about: Memorial Day, and remembering those who made the ultimate sacrifice, protecting our freedoms and allowing us to enjoy events like the 500. So thank you to all of those members of the armed services who are currently serving, have served, or, like we said, made the ultimate sacrifice. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. This has been Beyond the Game. Beyond the Game brought to you by Batesville Chrysler Dodge Jeep, Gillenhow Funeral Home, Acra Automotive, Decatur County Recycling, Walters Tire, Hamilton Tevye Law Office, and Buy Right Auto. For Ryan Higginbotham, Josh Lee, Derek Fosnot, this is Jason Simpson. We'll see y'all next week.